Hello, everybody. A little bit later than I think the build. Definitely, we're slightly late, but that's we've had issues getting accreditation. But we're here and we're in, and that's the main thing. And what a glorious stadium this is to be a part of. It is interesting, for example, that Norwich City's players have ran out here and have been routinely booed by the fans that are inside this place. So that gives you an indication of the type of game I think we can expect. Paddy's going to join me in just a second. He's just finishing something off, but in the meantime, what I'm going to do is spin you around and show you what is this magnificent arena for Norwich City. They're going to be playing in this afternoon. Near 50,000 capacity inside this place. Obviously, won't be quite anywhere near as full as that. As I look to the left, there's a stand there that looks to be closed. There's a kind of a seating terrace kind of stand to my right, which seems very full, and then the main stand. So we've kind of got two sections, and this stand that we're in doesn't look to be open to the public either. So still a good attendance, you would imagine, for a pre-season friendly, and I suspect a big test for Norwich City, which brings us nicely onto their lineup, which I'm sure you've all seen already, but just to recap in case you haven't, Norwich City lineup, it's going to be the first sighting of Angus Gunn that we're going to get this pre-season. He starts in goal. Mumba, Duffy, Omibamidele and Giannoulis are the back four. Nunez and McLean build as the two holding midfielders, although I could see Liam Gibbs stepping into that role with Rowe, Gibbs and Boheta behind Adamida, the subs bench. Tim Krul, Sam McCallum, Jack Stacey, Ben Gibson, Jonathan Tompkinson, Jakob Sørensen, Christos Solis, Onel Hernandez, Abu Kamara, Tony Springett, Ashley Barnes and Josh Sargent. So essentially we're seeing a lot of the players that maybe didn't get the bulk of the minutes on Wednesday, wasn't it? We were at Darmstadt. So we're seeing a little bit of rotation, and of course I would expect those changes to be made on 60 minutes, on 45 minutes, on 60 minutes and on 75, just as we saw the other day. So that's how Norwich City line up. We'll dissect that in a little bit more detail in a second. And Kaiserslautern have Loof in goal, Tomiak, Kraus, Redono, Pukat, Nikus, Raskol, Herner, Lovinger, Elvidi and Eric Derm, which might be a name familiar to some of you, a player that David Wagner had at Huddersfield, also 7 Germany caps as well. So that's how they line up. And new sightings, I believe a couple of new signings in there that are going to make their debut today in front of some of their home support. And you have to say, in and around this ground, there's a lot of people set there. There's going to debuts for Punak, Raskal and Evidi today for Kaiserslautern, and they are in the Bundesliga too. They spent their first season there yesterday. Last season, it's been a long hour or so. They were there last season for one campaign in the second division, and after getting promoted from the third tier, and now looking forward to their second season in the second tier. So that gives you an indication of where this is. They have obviously famously won Bundesliga, has been in the Bundesliga. I think they've been out of the top flight for around a decade now. So hoping to get back there, and in this magnificent stadium, which I for anyone maybe who didn't see it when I panned around, I would compare maybe to the Stadium of Light. It's a little bit like that in terms of, maybe it might even be bigger than the Stadium of Light, I'm not sure, but it's that type of venue, that type of arena. You've got these single sort of tiered stands that go all the way up. It's a pretty incredible arena for Norwich City to play in. Just to kind of dissect some of that team news before Paddy joins me, I'll read a team for you again in case you haven't seen it. Norwich, of course, playing in their brand new home kit. Be interested to hear your thoughts on that, because it's been very mixed reaction. I liked it in the way that it was advertised, where you had the lighter shade of yellow. I enjoyed that, but as soon as I saw the darker yellow, it wasn't really quite as much for me. So just to recap that Norwich starting 11, I'm sure you've seen it already. Gunn in goal, Mumba, Duffy, Omibamidele and Giannoulis complete the back four. Nunez and McLean as the two. Rowe on the right, Boheta on the left, with Liam Gibbs in that 10 role, which we did see him play a little bit towards the back end of last season, behind Adamida up front. And then you've got the likes of Tim Krul, Sam McCallum, Jack Stacey, Ben Gibson, John Tompkinson, Sørensen, Solis, Hernandez, Kamara, Springett, Barnes and Sargent, all making up the bench. So that's Norwich City's 11, and it's a 1 o'clock kickoff for you guys back in base. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff here in Germany. Paddy Davitt. Hello. I've been explaining, as you've probably heard, we had a few issues getting accreditation and whatnot, and having to be sent to different parts of the ground. And
it's a big ground to walk around.
So we've definitely got the steps in this afternoon, which is why we're a little bit late. But talk to me a little bit about that team news. I guess the headline really, that Angus Gunn makes his first start and gets his first minutes of pre-season, which David Wagner did bill, I think, after Kings Lynn last weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, the fact that he was happily training, we saw them yesterday at the open training session. There was physically no issues at all, working with a new coach, Paul Clements. And it was just a case of when David felt right with Omobama Daly to a degree, it was the right time. And certainly, I heard you talking about this setting. This feels like the right time. This feels like a proper examination. And why wouldn't you want let's be honest, your number one keeper in the sticks? So that's interesting for me. Omobama Daly and Duffy. We had some quotes this morning put up there about this sort of central defensive battle that's now joined with Ben Gibson in the mix and maybe the three younger ones less so. So we've had Gibson and Duffy. Now we get Duffy and Omobama Daly, and let's see how they gel today. And that'll be interesting for me. And then we talked about him on the train journey across really, Adam Eder. We were with a couple of Norwich fans actually who were very good entertainment, those lads. And basically, when, if not now, when for Adam Eder, and that's very much the feeling, I think, that
last chance saloon, that sort of...
Yeah, if you want to put it in those terms, certainly in terms of the season, yeah, I think if he gets to the end of this season and he's played, I don't know, 10 or 15 starts and maybe a handful of goals, then you have to think, well, it's not really going to be for Norwich, and we might have to look at other alternatives.
Sorry, I've just caught out. I don't know if you can see it as an owl. Just fair enough for us over there. That's
not a real owl.
Not a real one. No, I did
concerned.
Sort of double take when I saw those orange eyes.
I think it's one of them. You're the old birds in this humongous main stand we're in. But so they're the three areas for me. It's Gunn. You know what you're going to get, but it's nice to see him back. The two centre backs and Eder leading the line, and I think particular interest for me in those three areas of this game today. But yeah, I mean, if we look to our right, I'd conservatively say there's already probably feels about 10,000 or so behind that stand. That rail seating made a hell of a din when Norwich players appeared, and not in a positive way either towards the Norwich. We've spoken to a lot of Norwich fans. I can see yellow shirts in the stand opposite us. So.
Yeah, we spoke to a Norwich fan called George. I'm sure you'll be able to see that chat somewhere at some point. But he was essentially trying to rally all of the Norwich fans
just
together.
I want to clarify that. There's been no alcohol in Tuck today. Absolutely none whatsoever. There may be some later, though.
Yeah, there may well be. For you, not for me. But yeah, we spoke to a Norwich fan called George. You caught up with a couple of Norwich fans as well, and they were just trying to rally everyone together because here, and it's not uncommon in Germany, there's no sort of designated away section. So just trying to get those fans all in one area. But I mean, yeah, that site to our right, maybe I'll spin you around again and show you for those people who have joined us late. This is our view this afternoon. It's some stadium, this. It's pretty mega. It's some arena. And actually, as soon as I came up here, it kind of took me back to a quote from David Wagner. It might have been after Barnet, where he said, we don't play friendly games, we play tests. Well, this is going to be a test, isn't it? In terms of these conditions, the size of this stadium, because this doesn't feel like a pre-season game at the minute.
No, and I don't know if you talked about it, but from where we disembarked on the train to get to this stadium, it's very Newcastle-esque. It's like the cathedral on the hill. You can see it from all ports. As we just came along the interior of the stand to come out here, you look out the window, you're looking right across. There isn't anything higher than this. This on the landscape is a huge landmark, and you can feel the pride that they have in their team here. You know, the amount of people that are here today.
But also, for
a team who have been in the doldrums, Bundesliga 3.
And even there's a few, as you come up, as you say, very, very steep hills. Thankfully, we had a little bit of rain, otherwise I think we'd have been sweating quite significantly. But on some of those roundabouts, they had what I can only really describe as like Sabutio figures, but in statue form, in red kits, and you have various sort of pictures and fan imagery up and around as you climb to the stadium, as well as scarf sellers as well. It made this feel a real occasion. There were even some half and half scarves, dare I say. So that's not just an English thing. So yeah, quite an arena. It's going to be really interesting to see how some of these Norwich players adapt to that. And we spoke about Adam Eder. It's an interesting one. I guess the only real admission, we were at Norwich, held an open training session yesterday at Darmstadt. We were there for that. Gabriel Sara was involved, wasn't he? Not here today. And I can see we've had a question from David about him. When do you think is realistic? I think, again, David Wagner said he probably felt Germany would come too soon for him. We saw him, and he completed, it's worth saying as well, he completed the whole session that we watched yesterday, which was about an hour and a half long, and they were doing kind of shape work and various different bits. So he didn't look too far away at that stage. Maybe one for Alkmaar next week, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as you say, that open training session, it was quite revealing. Well, not revealing, but it was quite an insight. At the end of that session, players did, sort of mingle with fans, but before he got there, Wagner's Zara 1-1. It was a good 10-15 minute chat, not party to what was discussed, but clearly, probably kind of where are you feeling now? How's your body feel? Are you ready to push it on, to step it up? Because we're now moving through pre-season, and Gabby Zara, as we know, is, I would say, an indispensable cog in that Norwich midfield. So the sooner he's back, the better for all concerned. And it would appear everybody's fit and healthy, and nobody's had any issues in terms of fitness on this trip. No, that is true. That is true. I wish I was when we were trying to walk around in the rain to get in here.
On the train, they reckon they were 20 pints deep last night.
Yeah. I won't name them, but no. They reckon they're staying in Frankfurt where we are. They'd had 20 pints and have been going till 3 a.m. And
one in particular was in a bad way, wasn't he?
He was in a bad way. There was a lot of time spent on the train toilet, and I think a lot of sick was going into various places on that Barn-off train. So as I was saying, I've lost my train of thought.
Sarah, you were talking about.
Sarah, yeah. So it's good to see him. He's not on the bench today, is he? I don't think he's not named on the bench. So I think Alkmaar is the one really. And if we see him at Alkmaar, then it's a good sign. Yeah. Just to my right here is Dan Hawker, Norwich's head of comms. Are you going to come on? No, he says no. He says no.
We don't force anyone on camera.
He says no.
Yes.
Who's been a huge help to us on this tour, I might add as well.
Yeah.
A top individual, I would go as far as to say.
There you go. What else have we got in terms of questions? It's an interesting one from Max. I'm not just pulled up because they're being nice to us. But Joe, thank you very much for your kind words. Really appreciate it.
Is that Joe Southwell or Joe Davin?
Sure. We'll send the fiver in the post. Max Aarons is an interesting one. He's obviously just been away with the England under-21s. I'll probably throw Rashica into this mix as well, right? Because they're two players that a lot of people have been speaking about in terms of potential departures. Rashica's still on holiday because of when the Turkish season ended. Max Aarons has obviously been at the European Championship under-21s. He's a European champion by all accounts. When, if I guess is the word, but when do you think we can realistically expect those two players back in and around, I guess, David Wagner's pre-season plans, which they would be as things stand?
So who are we talking about? Aarons?
Rashica. Now I've kind of grouped them together, but you can differentiate them. If being the word, of course.
With that caveat, I would think certainly by Austria, if there's nothing happened in terms of transfers and their potential exits, by that stage, whether their futures lie here this coming season at Norwich or elsewhere, they need to be back in pre-season and building up their base fitness. So maybe not Holland, but certainly by Austria, if nothing has happened in that direction, they will both be part of that. I'm pretty sure. Because it's not in their interest, it's certainly not in Norwich interest to just have them parked, hoping something develops. And the same for Obama Daly as well. Plays today. I saw a question earlier, does this mean he stays? I wouldn't read anything into it. Other than he's here, he's available.
The reality is he's going to need minutes, isn't he? Right? So it would be unfair on him, even if you expected him to leave, not to give him any, whilst he's still on the books of the football club, and he's someone who. And
while he's here, of course, why wouldn't you use him?
Of course,
because
he's and you have to plan like he's going to be here as well.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't read much into that.
No, but to answer your original question, I think by Austria we'll probably see those two involved. Although certainly with Rashica, that's progressing from what we're led to believe. So personally, I don't think we'll see Rashica back. Maybe Max, you could see back in the building. As we all know, his attitude is first class. There'd be no issues there. But I think we still feel the end game there is, and West Ham are heavily linked now, aren't they? That come the start of the season or very shortly after, both of those players are no longer part of Norwich's future.
Yeah, what have you made of the German tour in general? This is obviously the last leg of it. We've watched Darmstadt, we've watched an open training session. It feels like it's been a really productive one for David Wagner and his side. I mean, subject to today going okay and no injuries. I mean, we can all remember pre-season past. I think Closer got an injury one year, didn't he? Alex Pritchard, I think that was games at Cambridge. Well, maybe they've had that with Borja Sainz, right?
Yeah, maybe. Well, let's hope so, because you certainly don't want the story from today's game to be, oh no, the curse has struck again. So, subject to them coming through this okay and unscathed on the fitness front. If they get another good performance, if they follow on as they did from Darmstadt, I think they'd be very pleased going back to getting on the plane back to England, because it's, as David said, they're out here for these type of tests, and you can just feel it today. In this environment,
hear it.
In this environment, it feels like a marked step forward in opponent, as Darmstadt were earlier in the week. And if they've wanted something out of the tour and they've got what they came here for, then I'm sure that they'll deem it as a very positive exercise. And as I say, it'll kick on again. Alkmaar, last 4 of a European competition next week, and then Olympiacos, very good team from Greece, always in and around European competitions, and in between Toulouse. So it feels like it's going upwards in terms of trajectory, and let's just hope Norwich continue in the vein that they showed on Tuesday and Wednesday. And if they do that, then I think overall it'll be deemed a positive exercise.
Yeah, completely. Paddy, thank you very much, and we must say as well, of course, thank you very much to our sponsors, Camel Healthcare, for their support. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. That should be enough. Perfect. Thank you. So thank you to our sponsors, Cabell Healthcare, for their help in getting us over here and being able to bring you this coverage. I'll be on the live blog this afternoon. You can go on the Pink and Plus app. Plenty of details on our website about subscriptions and trials and all of that sort of stuff. Brilliant time to do it. Obviously, throughout pre-season, we're going to be in Alkmaar next week, or it's just outside Alkmaar, aren't we? We're going to be in the Netherlands next week for that game, and we're also going to be in Austria as well for Norwich City's penultimate game against Toulouse. I'm sure there are various ways you can watch this. I think the club are doing a stream. I think Kaiserslautern are doing a stream somewhere, so there are plenty of ways you can watch it. But if not, then I'll see you on the blog. Come and keep me company. And of course, we'll have all the analysis and reaction from David Wagner after the game. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry it was a bit late, but we'll see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.